I've really enjoyed watching your journey thus far, but your takes here ain't it. Especially with your complaints regarding Spock's death scene. It's almost like you weren't even paying very close attention to all the nuance and detail going on there. It's all intentional. How can they say we're not paying attention? There is literally like 2-hour cuts of us just watching a film, eyes glued to the screen, and we break it down right afterwards. How can they say we're not paying attention? We clearly do.
What'd you say? Hey guys, so this is obviously our setup for reactions, and this isn't a reaction video because we actually didn't plan to make this video, so it's kind of on the fly, which is why we're in our reaction setup, but we posted our reaction to The Wrath of Khan and our discussion of the movie this past weekend, and with basically like 90+% of our videos, we record them like weeks in advance. We watched The Wrath of Khan like over a month ago at this point. Because of that, we don't really get to have a lot of like instant response to comments we get. The Wrath of Khan, you know, Alex, the video, it is our fastest growing video of all time. It's brought in more subscribers than any other video, has the most likes already of any video on our channel. But with that, it also had the most comments of any video on our channel, and there were a lot of them that we wanted to talk about. I think that there were some things about the movie that we could kind of explain a little bit more and also just respond to some of the points and whether we think they're valid or not that we got in the video. So this is definitely not us just milking The Wrath of Khan for a third video.
Guys, I don't think I've ever heard anyone else say that the death scene could have been done better. There's a first for everything. Similar to the whole DC Fontana fiasco, it just flooded our entire comment system, where it was just nothing but comments about things like Spock's death scene and his funeral, to the point where it almost drowned out anyone else having any other nice comments. And you'd think if you saw like 30 people say the same thing, you wouldn't feel the need to say it, but whatever, it's fine. I mean, it got us to make this video about it, so good job.
Now, this was more so in the discussion video than the reaction itself.
Yeah.
There were some comments on the reaction, but Alex specifically talked about Spock's death scene in our discussion video, which, by the way, if you watched our reaction and not our discussion, like, go watch that too. Come on now. Alex, you said that you thought the death scene could have been better, and the way that you were talking didn't seem like you realized he was blind. I'll let you talk about that. I just want to say first, not only did I not realize he was blind, I didn't even realize any of the stuff that you brought up about him bumping into the glass or not making eye contact. So I wasn't even enough in the know to even understand why he would be blind or that he was showing signs of it. So I was completely no pun intended, blindsided by this. But
everyone who watched this movie picked it up on their first. Every single nuance, every single little thing they picked up on their first watch. You should know. I'm not saying he has to comically, go like, I can't see, but like something where he's like, I don't know,
my fucking eyes.
Looking back at the scene, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It was extreme amount of radiation. Watching the death scene again, I'm like, okay, it kind of makes sense.
My biggest thing about it is I don't care if it makes sense. Like, that's not what we were critiquing, and I think that was the biggest disconnect, and this happens often, I feel like. We don't really talk about, like, plot holes or go, like, the CinemaSin route. Like, that's not what we really do. We're talking about how we felt watching the movie. Mm-hmm. So, like, when we were saying these things about the death scene, we weren't saying it doesn't make sense that he's acting this way or that the character shouldn't be acting that way. Very rarely are we actually talking about, like, this logically doesn't make sense. We're talking more so about how did we enjoy it? How did we like the movie when we watched that scene? You didn't like that his voice was raspy. I don't care if his vocal cords were melted by radiation. Like, that's a fine explanation, but I want to be able to hear him talk, right? Like, that has to do with me watching the movie.
You can say, oh, it's because of this, because of this. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but like, it didn't hit emotionally, mainly because of that, comic bonk into the wall. You can add context to things, but it doesn't change. It's just like an extra detail, like, oh, okay, but it doesn't change how you feel about it.
He bumps into the glass. It almost took me out of it. His voice was too raspy. He doesn't make eye contact. Bruh, my man is dying of radiation. Cut him some slack, Lamau.
Okay, yeah.
And that's pretty good. And I think that just goes to show we're not talking about, like, we're blaming Spock, the character, after being blasted with radiation. That would be very dumb for us to say that. We're just talking about more so the feeling of watching the scene itself. But that one, at least, a lot of the comments really did make me laugh. When they're genuinely funny like that, or even the ones who, can barely type on their keyboard, those are funny too. That discussion video is about 22 minutes. We bring up the Spock scene about 16 minutes in.
Yeah.
And in that first 16 minutes, it's mostly us praising the film.
Oh yeah, that's how it goes.
And yes, we titled it salaciously, like to get views, obviously. But the title is correct. We liked the film, but we didn't love it. But we spent a large chunk of the video praising the film. I just think it's funny. It goes to show, because of all of those comments about one thing that you said, no one else really addressed much of other stuff we talked about in the video.
Yeah, good news doesn't spark conversation. They want to like defend, something that, that's personal to them that they enjoy. There are comments in there like, I enjoyed that as well, but like it just got, like I said, it just got flooded out. What is wrong with you guys? Star Trek 2 was the greatest of the Trek movie.
Look, we knew that Wrath of Khan was one of the most popular Star Trek things ever, and people are going to be very defensive of the film. And it would be very easy for us to do the reaction, and then after the reaction at the end of the video say, wow, that was awesome, really good, see you guys later, and then not talk about it honestly.
Yeah,
You know,
play
but
Clash of Kingdoms.
but like that's not what we do on this channel. And I know there's a lot of new people here now, so I just want to put that out there up front. We're not a reaction channel that's just gonna, bullshit about everything we watch to appease people. And I know that's not what a lot of you are asking for either. This will be the last comment I read about this topic just because I wanted to address it. This is actually a pretty serious topic. Spock was clearly blinded due to the radiation damage. I hope Alex got fired for that blunder. Alex has very deep blackmail on me, so I will never be able to fire Alex. He also completely owns the IP of this channel.
I found a website that does licensing for $5. I just had to give him all my credit card info. I've noticed this long before now. The more you've heard about how good or bad something is, you're more likely to go the other way.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to sit here and deny that. I think that it's very much a part of anyone watching something. And the Wrath of Khan, we said this before we even started the reaction, the video. The Wrath of Khan has been hyped up more than anything else. Was that a detriment to us watching it? Probably. And we try to avoid that with most stuff, which is another reason we watch a bunch of stuff ahead, because our Wrath of Khan videos have already been flooded with people's opinions about Star Trek 3 and 4. Thankfully, we've already watched those. But even with that being said, there's no way to avoid it for Wrath of Khan. We've heard about it since posting our first Star Trek video. A Scottish person to play the instrument, a funeral, is one of the greatest things he can bestow on a true friend. Seems like you're really childish. True. If they thought that was funny. So many things you're nitpicking as it's astounding in a movie that's less than 2 hours long. P.S. When my father passed away, meaning many of his Scottish friends played bagpipes. At my father's funeral, not once did I just start laughing, or thought it was ridiculous. It's a great honor to have that done at a person's funeral. It actually means you're a true warrior. This is kind of the same thing. We were not critiquing in our discussion or laughing during the movie because we think the idea of bagpipes being played at a funeral is hilarious. We were laughing because we think Scotty is a hilarious character, and everything he says and does. Again, if this is the first video of ours you're ever watching the Wrath of Khan reaction, you're probably not going to know that. But go watch any of our Star Trek reactions. We laugh at almost everything Scotty says and does. The fact that we're in the middle of the most emotional scene we've ever experienced watching Star Trek, and then to fucking see Scotty,
Just a hard cut.
yeah, in a hard cut full gimmick playing bagpipes. It's irrelevant that that's what happens at funerals. We're not making a commentary on funerals or their proceedings. To us, that just really hit us in that way. Someone also commented that they thought it was the way we released the emotional tension in that moment, and I think that's spot on too. Like, we're basically almost crying at this movie. Something like that happening that hits you that way, I think laughter is a way of releasing that tension too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like there was nothing to suggest that Scotty was going to be there, with full gimmick, with this giant bagpipe. Kirk drops one of the greatest lines about, Spock was like the most human. Holy shit, I'm crying, and then cut to like Scotty playing bagpipe. And he's the only one too. Like if it was like a whole band of people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The fact that it's just him up there,
That'd be cool, actually.
Yeah, that'd be great. But you nailed it on the head. Like Scotty's like one of the most funny characters. We laugh at almost everything he does.
And again, even when we're saying this here, we're not critiquing the quality of the movie. We're just talking about the way that why we reacted the way we did.
I think Kirk and Khan face to face may have been stretched too far into fan service.
Yeah, okay. I disagree. And also, fan service isn't, I don't think, inherently bad. I think that you can have good fan service and bad fan service. I think that, something like Star Wars, good examples of fan service and bad examples in the same fucking movie sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think that would make that inherently bad. But what do you think about the whole Kirk and Khan thing? Because I think this is another example of people were like trying to explain why in the way the movie was set up, why they couldn't meet face to face. Guys, the movie's fake. They can write it however they want. Like, I'm not interested in like the logistical why they can't meet face to face or why it wouldn't make sense in this. It's like you can write the movie however you want in a way that works. That's what we're talking about what we wanted to see, not what would make sense in the story the way it was done.
Yeah, not in the sense like that it has to like everything's exactly the same except that one scene where they fight. Like you can strip some things away to make it work.
Just do the exact scene with Chekhov, except have it be Kirk instead of Chekhov. Not in obviously the same sequence of events, but in terms of what they actually do in the scene. We didn't expect them to have a TLC match or anything. Like just have a face-to-face interaction. And we even got several comments that said both, Ricardo Montalban and the director and Kirk, like people involved in the movie, wanted that to happen as well. But scheduling was just the main thing. From the research I've seen, was the reason that didn't get done. So it's not like everyone making the movie wholesale rejected that idea. It was something they wanted to do and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, is it too much to ask for like another fight? You like, I don't know.
No, it's not. But you actually said this during the reaction too afterwards when I was talking about how that was my biggest disappointment. You defended that you were like, oh well, every movie does that. I mean, maybe they wanted to do something different. And if that's your opinion and that's why you like it, that's totally valid. If you like the fact that they're not face to face because it's different, cool. That totally makes sense. If that's what you want. That's just not what I wanted, and I'm talking about my own reaction.
Yeah, it's definitely unique, but it's always like I wish we could have seen this. I enjoy it for what it is, but I also wish like, damn.
There's 1,000 different ways they could have done it. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, they didn't do it because the scheduling didn't work, and that's unfortunate. But if you like that they didn't do it, that's totally fine.
I like both. It's always fun to say what if.
Guys, the ending when Spock dies is Kirk's Kobayashi Maru. Kirk is the one who is facing the no-win scenario because there is nothing he can do to prevent his best friend's death. He cheated before, but couldn't this time. That's why Spock brings up the Kobayashi Maru again as he is dying. I always thought that was the most brilliant thing thematically about the film. It will resonate brilliantly in the next film. And I think that's a great point when you're thinking about the film thematically as its own thing. I actually agree with that, and I hadn't thought about it in that way. So that does make me look on that a little bit more fondly. With that being said, again, it's always that push and pull of how much do I want to care about the themes of this individual movie that someone who's not a Star Trek fan is coming in and making, or a fan of any property that you're making a movie based off of something, versus like what I want to see because I've seen Spock in over 100 episodes of television. Do I want him talking about this Kobayashi Maru test in his death scene, this test that I just learned about at the beginning of this movie? So it's that push and pull, but that comment made me realize that perspective a little bit more, so I appreciated that.
So like Spock bringing it up just kind of felt like it didn't even register that, or there's so much stuff going on to think about that. But yeah, it's a really good point.
So look, at the end of the day, I hope you guys had fun with this video. Yeah, we're obviously defending our takes, but also, trying to understand some of the perspectives we got in the comments as well. We're probably not going to do this all the time. We just thought this was a special circumstance given how many comments we got across those two videos. And at the end of the day, if you think, you watch our reactions, our discussions, and this isn't the type of reaction channel that you enjoy, that's totally fine. Just don't watch our videos. We're cool with that. But if you do enjoy it, stay tuned. We're going to check out Star Trek 3 and 4 and then start the next generation, which is going to be awesome. But we have to go watch a 2.5 hour movie for our patrons, so we got to get out of here. Do you have anything else to say?
I do like Spock's funeral more now, genuinely. So I just didn't need 600 of you to say that he's blind.